Hello, everyone, and welcome to another Capes and Lunatics book club, episode 10. I know what you're thinking. We just did one. What are we doing here again? Because last week, Lilith made the request. We were talking about Arrow Fatal Legacies, and she says, boy, you know what? I wish we could talk to the author about this book. And guess what?
And like a pro, Philip came through literally the next day. Hey!
Don't give me credit. Our guest, Mr. James Tuck, I just emailed him and said, hey, can we do an interview? I didn't even say what. Yeah, I said, can we do an interview? He said, sure.
Sure.
He must be a very nice guy, everyone. Mr. James.
Nice to meet y'all.
Nice to meet you. Thank you for joining us. Before we dive into the book, I saw the little about the author notes in the back. So how long did you know your whole life you want to be a writer, or did it come to you eventually?
It's an interesting story. I did not know my whole life. I did dabble in writing when I was younger, but it wasn't until I read a book that was supposed to be really good that turned out to be really terrible. And what's the rating on this? Is it PG-13?
Yeah, just you can go no curse words, but you can kind of go.
Right. So I said, I finished the book and I put it down and I said out loud, I can write better blank than this. And then I Googled how to write a book and read Lilith St. Crow's advice on it and wrote a book and sold it. Yeah.
Wow.
That's awesome.
First book, Blood and Bullets, sold without an agent to Kensington.
Nice.
How long ago was that?
That was 2010. I sold it. It came out in 2011. Mm-hmm.
So I saw
you don't want to mention the book, I suppose. That wouldn't be very nice.
No, it's Blood and Bullets. I don't mind mentioning it.
No, the book that you thought you could write better.
Oh, no. I know the lady from the convention circuit. She's really nice. I just don't care for her writing. So.
But I saw your list of books. You seem to have pretty many books, so you must have been writing nonstop the last 8 years then.
I usually write fairly fast, yeah.
Okay. Then once you complete one, you just pick up another one.
I'm pretty much always writing at least one book. I'm currently writing 2 books.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Wow.
So you must be pretty organized and focused.
Not really, no.
That doesn't get confusing doing 2 at once?
No, it's not too bad. It's not the first time I've had to do it. When I actually wrote Arrow, I was in the middle of writing another book. And I had to pick it up and get it done really quickly. So,
sorry.
No, go ahead.
I'm just really curious because this book is very interesting because it's it says story by Mark Guggenheim, and it's just usually you don't see that unless it's television or a screenplay. I've never really kind of noticed that with an actual novel, even a novelization. It's just usually just the screenplay. So how did that work in this particular instance?
Well, normally when you do a tie-in novel, you're writing a side story, like a pocket story off to the side that may or may not be canon. It really depends on how involved it's going to be. Usually it's not canon. This book specifically covers the incidents between the end of season 5 and the beginning of season 6. The only way I would know those things is with Mark Guggenheim's help. So he provided the outline, which was fairly detailed, but still left tons of stuff to fill in. So he was, I guess, the co-writer in that sense, but all of the actual words were written by me on the page.
So how'd you get this gig?
I have another series through the publisher, and I had mentioned to my editor that I was interested in doing some tie-in work. And when this came along, he put me in the slot.
So. Were you a fan of the Arrowverse or Arrow specifically?
Oh yeah, I love the show. I've been a comic book fan. A comic book was the first thing I ever read.
I see some behind you.
Oh,
I know. I'm just Shazam. I just want to ask him about it so bad because he's Captain Marvel is my fave.
Yeah, those right back there. So the 2 oversized comics, if you know about comic books, those are from back in my childhood. I used to own both of those. Lost them throughout time. Found them again for a reasonable price at a comic book show here in Atlanta and bought them. And the one there in the middle is just a random old Spider-Man that my local comic book shop had, and it's such bad condition they had it for only like $15. And I was like, for the smell of my childhood, which is the smell of those comic books, I'll buy that.
Oh, there's nothing better.
Yeah.
Really, it's not.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's awesome. So I take it you're a DC fan, and what you're also Spider-Man. That's like our fan. Those are like our jams.
Well, if you like Spider-Man, then you'll like the fact that I just signed a contract to write the adaptation of a graphic novel that is being adapted into a movie later on this year. That just dropped a trailer that I can't officially announce yet.
Oh, okay.
But you put the two and two together. So there'll be
Congratulations, good sir.
Yes, there'll be a book of that in October. I have to write very fast with that.
Wow, yeah, you will.
Yeah.
I know what we're reviewing in October or November.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So who was your, so in a sense, was it easier to write with the outline and being a fan of the show, or but because it's not your universe, was it a little bit harder or just different?
No, it was actually incredibly easy to write because I'm a big fan of the show. So I'm completely caught up on everything. I've watched it all as it happened. I'm in. Like, I'm on board with this stuff. I know how comic books work. I know how superheroes work. So it was incredibly fun and easy to write. And then with Mark giving me the events, and Mark was super easy to work with because he's like, I just kind of like, we need these things to happen. We don't really care how they happen. So I got so much leeway inside of that. The hardest part was doing the constant checking on the Arrow wiki to make sure I wasn't violating something that had already happened or anything like that.
Well, that's what I was going to ask you. Is that the hardest part, where it's like they aren't characters that you created from your own mind, that they're already pre-existing characters? So did you have to stop every so often and say, would Oliver do this? Or
I didn't have to stop and go, would Oliver do this? But what I had to do was, after I wrote something, I had to stop and go back and make sure that it had not already been done. Because you have 5 seasons of dialogue between these characters. What seems like an obvious conversation between, say, Oliver and Felicity for me may have already happened in season 2, and I was forgetting it and just channeling it in my own version. So I had to make sure that none of that happened.
Did you have a favorite character to write for during this process?
I was very, very happy that they let me have Sarah and put her in this book.
We were very happy to see Sarah too, because we kind of gripe about that within the show's universe, is that it seems like they don't know each other anymore, and I really enjoyed their relationship in season 2.
Yes, me too. And it was nice.
And
to
I
be
love her on Legends, like.
Yes, and it was nice to touch on that in the book, like to really kind of visit the fact that this woman, Sarah, not only is she completely badass on her own, but she is intimate with Oliver in a way that most people are not. And so it was a good way to insight into why he was doing some of the things he was doing. I was very happy to work with her and put her in the book.
So that was a request on your part. You're like, I want Sarah for the book.
Well, I was like, how far do we get to expand with the characters that are, I know I can't make a new character up, but like, can I play with anybody in the Arrowverse? And they were like, well, actually, who do you want to play with? And I was like, give me White Canary. And they were like, no problem. So
very cool.
Nice.
I feel like Legends needs a tie-in novel. I'm just saying, like I said this the last time we were talking about the Flash novel. It just seems like,
I agree.
Who's ever listening?
And I'd love to write it, especially with the developments at the end of this last season. Let me write.
Don't forget your Bebo.
Yeah,
this is the Bebo verse officially.
Oh, Constantine, yes.
Let me do that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So can you do that? Can you take like an idea for a pre-existing franchise and be like, hey, I have an idea for a Legends of Tomorrow novel. Would they listen? Would they actually give it a listen? And if they like it, say, yeah, go ahead.
Well, I need to check with my editor and find out if Titan has picked up the Legends of Tomorrow franchise to write tie-in novels. I don't know if they're available. They may be part of the CW package. I'm not sure. I know they have Flash and Arrow, but I don't know if they have Legends of Tomorrow. But if they did, I could totally pitch it to him and he might swing it their way.
So we'll be looking forward to it February 2019. No pressure.
I'd love to do that.
So who was the hardest character to write for?
Well,
the villain, maybe, because it wasn't.
Yeah, the villain was a little tough. I didn't have a lot to go on with him because as much as he really played into kind of the story, he didn't really play much into season 6. So Mark didn't have a whole lot for me to go on with him. So that was a lot of kind of making up my own stuff. But the hardest character, I mean, I kind of struggled a little bit with Lance, but he wasn't that bad. The struggle I had was more that Sarah and Lance both were really easy to write together, and him and Dinah were really easy to write together. But then writing the reactions between Sarah and Dinah and Lance became difficult. Because to me, Sarah would obviously be like, so, Dad, are you and Dinah like... And then CW was like, you cannot ask that. We don't want that to even be mentioned. Don't put that in the book.
They had a heck of chemistry, though, last season when she was introduced.
I know.
No
and then she had chemistry with Diggle, and it's like, oh, wait, he's married with a child.
No hints Lance has any romantic interest in a...
Thank you, Juliana Harkavay.
Daughter, no.
Yeah, I thought it was super obvious, but they were like, we don't even want to imply that. And I'm like, okay, that's fine.
They saw
like
it.
Sarah would still ask, though. Sarah would totally bring that up.
But was it kind of difficult where they like gave you a starting point at the end of season 5, and here's the beginning of season 6, and someone gives you the beginning and end point, or does that make it easier?
It made it fairly easy. Like I said, this book actually wrote really quickly. It was a lot of fun to really get into. I didn't have any problem, any struggle with it at all.
Was there a mandate for action? Because like this book, unlike the other books in the Arrowverse, actually has like the most action. Basically, was that on you, or was that a mandate or a happy medium?
That was not a mandate, but Mark was like, I want to do things in this book that we can't afford to do on TV. Like he wanted the helicopter chase, and I'm like, I can't figure out how to put anybody in the helicopter. So
you just take the arrow grappling hook and you have them.
But he was like, if you could do a chase where they fight on a car carrier, and I'm like, I can open with that, no problem.
That's the one I mentioned in our review. I said, I would love to see that on TV.
Yeah. He says they can't.
And James Danforth would love to do it, but the CW does not have the budget.
Yes, don't have the budget for that many stuntmen.
Although back in season 1 and 2, we were blowing stuff up like nobody's business.
Yep.
Well, we had less cast members too.
True.
But no, I like to write action. Most of the stuff I write has a lot of action in it, and I think I do it fairly well. So
I said it was so much action, it almost seemed like they initially wanted it to be like a graphic novel with panels, because it was just like so much action from all the other novels.
Right.
And maybe we can do a graphic novelization of it.
I would love that.
Well, that kind of leads into my next question. If Marvel or DC came to you and asked you to, if you wanted to write a monthly comic, would you? And who would you?
Absolutely, yes.
Which book would you like to write?
I don't care.
You don't care? Anybody?
I don't care.
Is there like a underdog that you definitely like have a passion for?
Oh, there's absolutely comics I would prefer to write. Like, say, if DC came to me, I would like to write some of the odder characters like Blue Devil. Like, let me bring Blue Devil back.
Nice.
I'd love to get a crack at the Legion again. And with Supergirl doing Legion, I mean, I don't see why they don't already have a Legion comic. I know there is one coming down the pike sometime this year, but it can't get here fast. Why don't
we have a Supergirl comic anymore? So,
Yeah.
We got to make room for other stuff, and then stuff doesn't work out and they come back to, the tried and trues.
Well, and I'd love for them to let me write a Supergirl novel. Like, that would be totally into that.
Yeah, because they
have just the middle-aged readers. They don't have like the actual tie-in novels, as far as I know right now.
Right. I know Titan doesn't have the tie-in novels for Supergirl, but there may be another publisher that has them. Yeah, yet.
It's probably the CBS side holding out hope.
Yeah.
But I mean, maybe
can't give WB everything.
Maybe just because I love the characters. I mean, and the way you write action, I could see you like on a Batman or a Nightwing or something.
Yeah, no, I'd love to do that. Yeah, I prefer Nightwing over Batman.
Yes, I love this guy. Yes.
I feel like maybe this guy did his research.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe he saw the email.
My whole life has been research for comic book talk. So. Yeah. No, I love Nightwing. I love Bloodhaven. I mean, I mentioned it in Arrow as much. I put as much Bloodhaven in Arrow Fatal Legacies as I could. Like I had the one character that came from Bloodhaven and was talking about how Bloodhaven works. I totally write a book in there. Yeah.
Oh yeah. I missed those season 1 and 2 references to the Bloodhaven.
Well, they just mentioned it this last week on the Ricardo Diaz episode. They said something about Bloodhaven.
Yeah.
Right.
Was the orphanage in Bloodhaven? I can't remember now.
I can't remember either.
I can't remember.
I'd love to see. See, that was weird because I was like, okay, we actually had a novel about the bad guys. Now we have an episode about the bad guys. Now we need another novel about one of the bad guys. And I say I vote for Chase.
Yeah.
Because we already have Deathstroke. I say we need a novel about Chase.
Chase was good.
Yeah. And it was like, it got me really excited for this novel. It was just like, okay, so it's going to be technically Chase's Fatal Legacy and not necessarily Oliver's this time, kind of sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
So that was fun. Like,
and besides the CW shows, which are all great, is there are there any other comic book shows you watch?
I watch Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. I'm caught up on it. I did not get into Gotham, although I keep hearing that I should go back and check that out.
Wait for season 5 soft reboot. If you haven't liked anything so far, they're saying
because they're talking about doing No Man's Land in season 5 next year.
Ooh, that'd be nice.
Yeah.
I'm coming back for that season for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. Let's see. What other do I watch?
Do you watch any of the Marvel Netflix stuff?
I have watched most of them. I'm not up on Punisher, and I'm not up on Jessica Jones season 2 yet. But that's only because I don't have time to binge watch a show right this moment.
Well, yeah, writing 2 books at a time. Yeah,
writing 2 books and keeping up with the current like superhero stuff that's on the CW. I just can't add that in. But once we get the last finales of the CW stuff, I'll be picking up Jessica Jones season 2 because I love that character. I'd write the shit out of that character.
Yes.
It's okay. We feel the same way around here.
She lets them fly sometimes.
Yeah, Punisher, Daredevil, any of those. I'd love to write any of those characters. Although the Daredevil comic book with Charles Soule is killing it.
Yes.
Like, it's so good.
Are you up to date on that?
I am.
Matt Murdock's the mayor of New York.
Yes.
Superheroes and wanting to be mayors. How cliche.
Right?
Kidding. I lost my train of thought. Go ahead, Philip.
You're fine.
Oh, word. Let's see. We asked books, TV. Okay. Well, since Lilith lost her train of thought, what are some of your other books that people should check out if they like the Arrow book?
If you like the Arrow book, you should definitely check out the Deacon Chalk series, which is my first series. It's a monster hunter. It's guns and monsters. It's action from one side to the other. I really, really love that series, and it's got a lot of material to cover. And if you like the dark and spooky stuff, you can try the Levi Black stuff. I write as my other author name is Levi Black, and I write a Lovecraftian urban fantasy that has Red Right Hand and Black Goat Blues as the 2 books that are out now, with a 3rd coming this year.
It sounds like you'd also be great for like either a novel or the comic series of Constantine in some form.
Absolutely. I'd love to write that. Like I said, just about any comic book, but yeah, that kind of stuff, the dark and spooky stuff. If I did get Blue Devil, it wouldn't be the fun romp with the stuntman in a suit. It would be the Dark Devil, like Constantine Vertigo style. I think that would be a lot of fun.
Put it out into the universe, and maybe the universe will answer.
Exactly.
Give this man some work. Give him all the work. I'm liking everything I'm hearing.
Would you be opposed to writing for TV? I know because Oscar Balderrama, who wrote Vengeance, he ended up actually becoming one of the writers for a couple of seasons.
No, I'd love to. Yeah. Move me to Toronto.
Just throw everything into the universe.
Yeah. Move me to Toronto. I'll write. I don't mind at all. Or California, wherever you write from. I don't have a problem. I'll pack it all up and go.
You leave Atlanta? Atlanta's pretty nice.
Atlanta's pretty nice, but
and it's starting to be the Hollywood of the South.
Well,
it's picking up. Although Austin is giving a run for its money in certain things. So.
Yes, it is. Well, it's only a matter of time before our lawmakers decide that they want to get back that tax money they give up, and then we'll lose a lot of the studio work that we have here. That's just the way Atlanta works.
Oh, that's right, Atlanta. So
Walking Dead. Well, no, the originals is in this last season.
Isn't it Black Lightning?
Oh, Black Lightning, yeah.
Yeah. Now I love that series. That was great. Yeah.
That finale. Oh, I can't wait for season 2.
I don't know. We need a novel about that.
I would love to write that.
Because Lord knows they don't give us enough backstory on Black Lightning. So yeah, he does need a novel.
And I've loved Black Lightning from when I was a kid. Like, I mean, reading Black Lightning's adventures in The Brave and the Bold, and then, his very few limited runs on his own stuff. Like, yeah, he's a great character. So
Outsiders. Just throw him in Outsiders and I'm good to go. Well, we don't want to take up too much of your time. Do you want to tell the people where they can find you on the interwebs?
Yeah, you can go to jamesrtuck.com, which I'm actually in the process of updating as we speak. So that's where you can find all the stuff about me.
Are you on Twitter?
No.
I don't blame you. As a creative, I really don't blame people for not being on Twitter, social media, because I feel like sometimes in certain shows it does influence things. Like Supernatural is a big one. I'm just like, but at least we got Wayward Sisters out of it. So there's that.
I mean, I have a Twitter account, and I do go and watch all my friends and what they're doing, but I never interact on Twitter. It just never happens. Yeah.
That way it's
Yeah.
Twitter's a mess sometimes.
Yep.
Anyway, Phil.
I have nothing.
You want to take a bite?
Okay. But yeah, again, thank you, sir, for joining us. And
gladly done.
If you have something to promote, just shoot me an email. We can promote it. And then when you have another book coming out, we can do this again if you'd like.
Absolutely.
All right.
Yeah, we'll see you for the Legends of Tomorrow tie-in. No problem.
Absolutely. Yes, indeed. All right. Well, thanks for having me on. I'm glad you guys liked the book.
Yes. Thank you so much.
No problem. Gladly done. Yeah, just send me a link whenever you put the podcast up, and I'll put it out on my stuff.
All right. Thank you. Yes, I will definitely do that.
Cool.
All right. Good night.
Good night.
Awesome.
I can be nice.
I know you faked it pretty good, but no, I think anytime now when we do any book, I'll try to reach out to the author. But yeah, I mean, he's great. I would love to have him back, especially if he's going to do more superhero stuff.
Oh yeah.
But I mean, all his other books look interesting too.
Maybe later on this year we'll do one.
Yes. Did he say something about a spider-related thing in October or something? I wonder what that could be.
I cannot wait for Capes and Lunatics this Saturday at 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time.